All right, so we are working on decimal word problems. Today we're going to start with part B and hopefully do part B, C, D, and E. So we have our graphic organizer here. With each one, we're going to kind of make our plan with a number sentence. We're going to estimate our answer. We're going to work it out without a calculator first and show our work. And then we're going to use a calculator to check because all of it's decimals, so we can check everything with the calculator. So we're going to start by just reading the problem and try to figure out what it's saying. So it says Pedro buys 7.5 or 7.5 gallons of gasoline for $28.49. How much does each gallon of gasoline cost? So do you guys see a key word in there? Raise your hand if you see the key word. Cody, what do you think it is?
How much?
Okay, so how much sometimes is, but there's a bigger one. Priya. Each. So how much sometimes means different things, but the one that really stuck out for me is each. So each can mean either multiply or divide. So let's draw a little picture to figure it out. So I'm going to just draw circles for each gallon of gas. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'm going to draw a half. It's beautiful. And so 7.5 gallons. So all of this together costs 28.49. We want to know how much this gallon costs, and this gallon costs, and this gallon costs. So how am I going to figure out how much is in each of these? Silas.
Divide 28.4.
Yeah, so each can mean multiply or divide, but we're looking at it's definitely going to be division. So then over here, we are going to do 28.49, $28.49 divided by the 7.5 gallons of gas. This is not exactly a number sentence. I should have just written out plan. So this is just sort of our plan for what we're going to do. And so what I'm going to do to estimate is round these off. And I want to round them off so that it's easy. So I'm going to do something that's a little unorthodox. I'm going to round the 28.49 down to 28. And instead of rounding 7.5 up, I'm going to round it down to 7. Why am I doing that? Silas.
Because 28 is a multiple.
Yeah, I want it to be easier for sure, and I want it to go in evenly. So I picked a number I knew I could just do in my head. If I know my division facts, I can just do this. So what is 28 divided by 7?
4.
Okay, raise your hand next time. So it is 4. So we know that this is actually a little bit bigger, and this is also a little bit bigger. I rounded both of them down. So it's probably not going to be exactly 4, but that's just a good estimate. I can estimate it's about $4 a gallon. All right, so over here where I wrote my number sentence, I wrote the division out this way. Just really quick, I want to write it using long division. Which one of these numbers goes inside the box? Raise your hand if you know. Adley. The 28.49. Good. And when I do that, I automatically put that decimal up here and line that up. And so that means the 7.5 goes out here. So before I move it over here, I wanted to set this up in here so that I have more room when it's just, what do I do if there's a decimal out here? Ava. You move it. So I'm going to move this over one place and move this over one place. And so over here where I'm actually going to do the work, I'm going to have that written with it moved out. You want to write small because you need to have space for everything. And so this would be 284.9. So now my decimal is moved over for both of those. Some of you struggled with the starters last week doing this. I don't know what was going on. I think maybe some of us just didn't spend as much time on it as we should have. But anyway, so 75 is a big number, but by the end of 6th grade, supposedly we can do long division with 2-digit numbers on the outside. So just think about 75, think about it as 3/4. So 75 will not go into 2, it will not go into 28, so if you want to put zeros there, you can. It will go into 284. So I just want to think about quarters. So 3/4 is 75. If I double that and take it times 2, it would be 75 and 75. I'd have 6/4, which is $1.50. 75 times 3 is $2.25. 75 times 4 is $300. So 4 is too big. I'm going to use 3. So you might have a little bit of work off to the side where I have the 75 times 3 and I'm kind of estimating, and I get the 225. So I'm going to have 225 to subtract. And you may have to work out several of these multiplication facts if you don't have a calculator to get there, and that's fine. Okay, so 4 minus 5 I can't do, so I've got to borrow from the 8, make it 7. Carry the 1 over. I now have 14 minus 5, which is 9. 7 minus 2 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. I'm going to leave that blank. So next I've got to bring down a 9. So now I've got 599. Very close to 600. So 75 times 4 I know is 300. So times 8 would be 600. So I'm going to have to go down to 7. And you guys might not be able to do that quite as fast, so you may have to write out a bunch of multiplication facts here. So I'll show you what it is to do 7. 7 times 7 is 49, 50, 51, 52. So 525 is what I'm going to subtract. I get 4, I get 7. I'm not done, so I'm going to bring down a 0. I now have 740. So if I think about that, 750 would be 10, right? So it's going to be 9. So I'll work out 75 times 9 over here. We're still not there. It's okay. 63, 67. So it goes in 9 times and I have 6, 75. I'm going to subtract that. So borrow from the 4, make it 3, 1. And we are not going to go forever on this one because money only has 2 decimal points. So it looks like it's $3.79. I want to go one more decimal place just to see if that 79 cents is going to round up to 80. I know you're running out of space, but we are just about done. We don't have to go until this stops because money in the United States only does 2 decimal places. So if we do the third just to see if it's going to round up, then we're good. So 650 is what I have. And so I know that 4 is 600. Did I mess up something?
It's 8 because 7 times 8 is 600.
I subtracted 10 minus 5 and got 5. 13 minus 7 is 6. So 6 is 5. And then I brought down a 0, 650. So I get a 4. I'm sorry. You're right, it's an 8. I got what you're saying. So 8 times 75 is 600. That was right. And so I'm just going to stop there because I don't really need to keep going. I can round this up. So I know I need to round to the second decimal place, to the hundredths place. I look next door, I have an 8. So this is going to round up to 80. So really, from my work over here, if I round up, I've got $3.80. All right, so now I'm going to take my calculator and just do the same thing and see what I get. So 284.90 it was 28.49. Having problems here. 28.49 divided by 75. 7.5, my original problem. And I get 3.798 blah, blah, blah. And so it does round off to 380, and I can check mark that. Sorry, I'm having a weird morning. So you don't have to go forever. Last year, I had a problem like this. It was not last year, it was 2 years ago, they just kept going and going and going, and they had like 12 decimal places. I'm like, but money, we only do 2 decimal places. You don't have to know what all of those are. You have to go one pass just to see if it's going to round up, and then that's it. And then make sure that you're checking everything before you turn it in, everything with the calculator. Okay, So, we're going to move over to part C, different problems. So each of these is going to be something different, whereas part A had multiple parts. That's just one part for each. Okay, so Shakara, I'm not sure, makes a rectangular tablecloth that is 3.5 meters long and 1.5 meters wide. What is the area of the tablecloth? So I'm going to circle the word area. So you have to know how to find the area of a rectangle when you come into middle school. They just assume that you know that. So how do I find area of a rectangle? Raise your hand if you know. Raise your hand if you know. Nobody's raising their hand. Cody, yes. Length times width. So area is length times width. So that's something that they expect that you know. You've been doing that for a long time. And so the word area is our key word there. Is it on our list of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? It might be, but most of the time it's not. So you might have to just use some prior knowledge there. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take 3.5 times 1.5. So that's my plan to get my area. Okay, so if I'm going to estimate this, let's round these off. So if I round them, both of them up, I'll have 4 times 2, which is 8. Although we know that this is going to be overestimating because they're both 0.5s. So you can round up and do it, and then sometimes people will also round down. And this would be an underestimating. So somewhere between 3 and 8. So estimating on this is kind of but at least I know it's going to be a single digit. I know it's going to be somewhere between 3 and 8. And that gives me some idea. Because it's halfway in there, I would say it's going to be somewhere in the middle between 3 and 8. And so you can kind of think, well, it might be like 5 or 6. So I might use that as my estimate because I know that both of these are 0.5s. So that tells me it's really going to be right in the middle between 3 and 8. So probably 5 or 6, somewhere in the middle. Okay, so we're going to actually do the work. When I multiply decimals, you do not have to line the decimal up. Although when there's only 1 decimal place on each, that's just how it works out. So we're going to take 3.5 times 1.5. So what do I do first? Raise your hand if you want to walk me through the first part. Rowan.
You do 5 times 5, it's 25, and you carry the 2, and then you do 5 times 3, and then add 2, and then it gives your answer.
Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. Good. Put down the 5, carry the 2. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. We just do all of that. And then I like to erase this 2 afterwards before I do the next part. So Priya's really excited to help me with the next part. What do I do? Okay, before that, what do I do? Cody, you want to...
Magic 0.
Magic 0. Okay, and then we're going to do the 1 times 5, which is 5, and the 1 times 3, which is 3. So don't forget to put that 0 in there for the second line. If there were a third one, we'd have to do even more. So 5 plus 1 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. 3, 4, 5. And then to find out how many decimal places, you do not just drop it down. There is 1 decimal place here and 1 here. That means there's 2 decimal places. My answer has to have 2 decimal places. So what do I do?
Does it go in front of the 5?
Goes in front of the 5. So if I do that, I have 1, 2 decimal places. Sometimes you guys have learned swoop, swoop. But some of you, or zoop, zoop, some of you are not that good at swooping and you go too many times. When I was grading stuff, I was like, oh, they swooped 3 times instead of 2 times, and they counted it as 2. So just make sure if you have 2 decimal places up here, 1, 2, even though they're in different numbers, 2 decimal places in the answer. Okay, so let's check it with our calculator now. So we're going to do 3.5 times 1.5. And we get 5.25 on the calculator, so I'm just going to put check. So on our final answer, we probably ought to put a $, circle that so it's super obvious. But when you check it, if something went wrong, you need to go back and fix it. Don't turn things in that are wrong. You're going to learn more if you find your own mistakes and fix them than if you just turn it in and don't even know it's wrong. Okay, so the last two problems are what we call multi-step problems. In middle school, they expect that you can do problems that take more than one step. And I'm going to teach you something that might be kind of new for you today using some parentheses. What? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at part D. A gas station sells gasoline for $4.10 per gallon. Elizabeth has a discount card. So this is like going to City Market. You use your discount card. You might get 10 cents off or 20 cents off. It depends on how many groceries you got. For each gallon of gas that she buys, she gets 30 cents off the regular price. So she's been racking up those points. How much does it cost Elizabeth to buy 9.8 gallons of gasoline? So this is a multi-step problem. So she's paying $4.10 per gallon, but she has a discount of 30 cents off the regular price, and she's buying 9.8 gallons. So who can tell me what I would need to know first? What would I need to know? Silas.
$4.10 per gallon.
Okay, so $4.10 per gallon, that's a good place to start. What do I need to do with that? Oh, so subtract the discount. Good. So discount is a word that means subtract. A discount means that they're taking money off. So I need to do the $4.10 minus the 30 cents first. Is subtraction usually the first thing we do with order of operations? No, it's usually the last thing. So I'm going to put that in parentheses because guess what? In order of operations, parentheses get done first because we're only going to write one number sentence. We're not going to do this in two parts. All right, so this is going to give me how much she pays per gallon. So this is going to give her the final dollars per gallon with the discount. And then if I figure out how much she's paying per gallon, then what do I do next? So let's say we've subtracted that. We have the answer. Josie, what do you think?
Then you divide by 9.
Okay, close. Not divide. It is multiply. So you're going to multiply. If you divided, the number would get smaller. I wish buying gas was that way because I would be excited. I would buy more and more gas. And so what I'm going to do with this then is I'm going to multiply it by the 9.8. And I'll stick that out here. Now, technically, I do not have to put a time sign at all if there's parentheses. I just did it to make sure it's super clear. So we're going to subtract this and then multiply by the 9.8. So you can write that all as one big expression. The parentheses make it so that you do the subtraction first. Isn't that cool? That way you can put it in all in one line. This is also a way that you can put it in the calculator all at one time. You could always do it in two steps, but I'm supposed to teach you how to use the parentheses, so there you go. All right, so we're going to estimate. We're going to round these off to whole dollars. So 410 will round off to what? 4. And 30 cents is going to round down to 0. So that's going to be 4 minus 0. That should be pretty easy. 9.8 rounds off to 10. So if I do this, I'm going to have 4 minus 0, which is 4, and then times 10. So my estimate is going to be about 40. She's going to pay around $40. Is it going to be exactly $40? No, it's not that bad actually. 9.8 gallons is a pretty small amount of gasoline. It is kind of expensive if we're paying close to $4 a gallon, but sometimes it does happen if the price goes up. I've paid more than that. It just depends. Okay, so over here we're going to do the actual work. So the 410 minus 0.3 is going to happen first. So I'm going to write that out this way, remembering that I need to line up the decimals when I add or subtract. So when I subtract this, 0 minus 0 is 0. I cannot do 1 minus 3, so we borrow. Make that 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. We drop down the decimal, and 3 minus 0 is 3. So 380 would be the answer for the parentheses part, and then I still need to take it times 9.8. So when I do this, when I'm multiplying, do I really need this 0 on the end? I'm going to drop that off and just make it 3.8 times 9.8. Because I don't really need the 0 on the end of the 380. I do because it's dollars and cents. But to multiply, I can leave that 0 off. That makes this so much easier because I don't have as many places to put numbers. Alrighty, 8 times 8 is how much? 64. So put the 4 down, carry the 6. 3 times 4 is 24, plus 6 is 30. Alright, so we've got the top line done. I like to erase this because it messes me up. So then we just talked a little bit ago about putting that magic 0 in. Don't forget that. Ooh, 9 times 8. That's when people forget a lot. What's 9 times 8? Yes. It is 72. So I'm going to put down the 7, carry the 2. What's 9 times 3? 3 times 9. Oh, I did do that backwards. Good job, you guys are paying attention. I'm so glad that I am recording this. All right, what's 3 times 9? No one? Yes. 27, and then we're going to add another 7, so that makes 34. And we're going to add all of that. So we get 4, 2, 7, 3. How many decimal places do I need in my answer, Cody? 2, because I have 1, 2 decimals up here, so I need to have 1, 2 decimals down here. So you can swoop it back. Just make sure you're counting. Some of you don't swoop real well. You're counting an extra thing. I don't know what you're doing. Just make sure if there's 2 here, there's 2 here. So now let's use the calculator. And here's a cool thing. Because we wrote this with parentheses, I could just put all of this in at one time if I want to. What? So let me show you what that looks like. So there's parentheses keys. You get it where you can actually see my calculator screen. 4.1, so it's $4.10 minus the 30 cents discount she's getting. And then I'm multiplying that by 9.8. And I got 37.24, so we did good. We got the right answer. It checked out. We need to make sure that we put a $ sign on our final answer, either here or here. We almost didn't because I multiplied wrong. I know. And I'm recording this too, so great. Yes. Okay, everybody get all of that? Yep, not quite. I'll leave it for a second. People are sharpening pencils. Okay, we're still good on the recording. All right, so we're down to the last problem. I'll leave that up there for a second. I'm going to start reading the next one. So is this how they spell ramen noodles? No? Okay. So maybe it's Ramon instead of Raymond. I don't know. So Ramon buys 2 packages of chicken wings. One package weighs 1.28 pounds, and the other weighs 2.63 pounds. The price of chicken wings is $3.25 per pound. What is the total cost of the chicken wings? So total tells me that something in here is going to get added. But I also have this per pound. What does that tell me? The per. Yes. Multiply. So I'm going to be multiplying something, and I'm going to be adding something, and I've got multiple steps. So what would be the first step? If you're just doing this one step at a time, what would you do first? Yes. No? Yeah.
Add all the different pounds of chicken.
Yeah, I'm going to add up my chicken wings. They're going to when I buy this one and this one, they're going to add them up. So I'm going to add the 1.28 and the 2.63 together first. And because I want that to be there we go. Because I want that to be first, I'm going to put that in parentheses. That's my first thing I'm going to do. So one of the new things we're supposed to learn this year is how to write this with parentheses. Parentheses make it happen first. And then if I have the per pound, you guys are right. We're going to multiply whatever that total is So this is the total pounds of chicken wings. That's what that is. And then I'm going to multiply that by the $3.25 because they're going to charge me for all of those. Now, could you multiply this by the 1.28 and by the 2.63 and then add it together? Yes, but that would give you a whole extra set of multiplying. And so we're just trying to keep this as short as we can. Okay, so we're going to estimate. So let's round these off to whole dollars. So in the parentheses, if I round that off, what's that going to look like? Raise your hand if you would like to help me out. Priya.
The first one would be what?
1, round that off to $1.
The second one would be
3. And then the 3.25 would just round down to 3, right? So I'm going to do 1 plus 3, which is 4, in the parentheses first, and then times 3. So our estimate is around $12. So you can estimate in the grocery store. We do this all the time. You can do, in the produce department, they have scales. In the meat department, they have pounds written on there. And you know what the per pound is. You can kind of estimate what things are going to be. Okay, because you don't want to be surprised when you go to checkout and then be one of those people that leaves everything at the counter and has to be put back. So now we're going to work out the answer without the calculator showing all of our work. So we set this up over here. Now we're going to do the work kind of in the 2 steps that you would normally do. So we're going to add first, because that's in the parentheses, 1.28 and 2.63. I did not line that up very well. Hang on. And I am writing small just because these little boxes are not very big. I did make them bigger, but they're still not very big. Okay, so we're adding these. When you're adding, remember just to bring that decimal down. Drop it down to the answer, because then you don't have to think about it. All right, 8 plus 3 is how much? Cody's got his hand up. 11. So put down the 1, carry the 1. 2 plus 6 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have $3.91 of chicken, just to keep track of what we just did. And then I have to take care of that per pound. This is going to be a big multiplication problem. So I have to take this 391 times the 325. Do you notice there's 3 digits and 3 digits?
Yes.
You need room. You need to write very small. Make sure your pencil's sharp. So I'm going to just run through this for the sake of time. So 1 times 5 is 5. 9 times 5 is 45. So carry down the 5. Carry the 4. There's little pencil sharpeners in your hand, so while I'm teaching, we don't have to get up and do that next to my microphone where I'm recording. All right. So where was I? 9 times 5 is 45. So put down the 5. Carry the 4. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus 4 is 19. Carry the 1. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 1 is 20. I think I did something wrong.
It's 1955.
It is 1955. You're right. I don't know what I was doing, because that'd be 15 plus 4 is just 19. All right. So I'm going to get rid of the little 4 that I carried. I'm going to do a magic 0. And then I do the 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 9 is 18. Carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. 2 times 4 is... I still did something wrong. No, that's...
There's no 4. You forgot to erase the 4.
Okay, that was what I carried then. All right. Thank you. I was getting super confused. I confused myself. It happens.
Sitting here watching you?
Yeah, just gotta watch me. All right, so when I come down here, I need 2 magic zeros. However many lines you do, you gotta have another 0. 1 more line. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 9 is 27. Carry the 2. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 2 is 11. This is all right now because I'm checking my work in my notes. Yay, so now I just have to add it all up. 5 plus some zeros. 5 plus 2 plus a 0. So I have 5 and 7. On the next one, 17 plus 3 is 20, so put down the 0, carry the 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 7 is 10, plus 7 is 17, carry the 1. And we get this big long thing. Now, we have to figure out where to put the decimals. So I go up here. How many decimal places are in the problem, Rowan? 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all going to be after the decimal, or you can go swoop, 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 swoop. But whatever you do, you've got to make sure that there are 4 numbers in the decimal place. Now, this is American money. We talked about this earlier. We don't have 4 decimal places in American money. We need to round it off. Priya wants to help with that. What would it be?
1271.
It would be 1271. Why is this 0 now a 1?
Because the number behind it is 0.
Right, because its neighbor 7 makes it round up. Good. Okay, so now we're going to do this on the calculator and just make sure that all of this checks out. Actually, I'm going to go back over here where we had the original problem because that's less typing. 1.28 plus 2.63 in parentheses times 325. And we did get the same number. So I write down what I got on the calculator and what we're rounding it off to, and then make sure whatever your final answer is, you're boxing or circling it somewhere so that the poor person who's grading your work, me, knows what you're doing.